1. Which principle of adult learning is most critical when developing emergency management training for seasoned professionals? A prioritizing, rote memorization of regulations. B. Connecting new knowledge to learners' prior experiences. C. Focusing exclusively on theoretical frameworks. D. Limiting active participation to minimize conflict. 2. In evaluating the effectiveness of a disaster response training program, which method best aligns with outcome-based evaluation? A. Measuring the number of participants who attended. B. Assessing learners' satisfaction with the training. C. Testing decision-making accuracy during a simulation exercise. D. Recording the total hours of instruction provided. 3. During curriculum development for emergency preparedness, which component ensures alignment with regulatory compliance standards? A. Incorporating only local policies. B. Benchmarking against federal guidelines. C. Eliminating scenario-based exercises. D. Avoiding references to standardized frameworks. 4. When communicating during a crisis exercise, which approach demonstrates effective command presence? A. Using technical jargon to assert expertise. B. Delivering concise, clear instructions. C. Prioritizing written memos over verbal guidance. D. Allowing unstructured discussions to develop. 5. Which evaluation tool is most appropriate for assessing long-term mentoring effectiveness in emergency management leadership programs? A. End-of-course surveys. B. Immediate post-training quizzes. C. Longitudinal performance appraisals. D. Attendance records. 6. In adult learning, self-directed learners in emergency management training most value. A. Passive listening sessions. B. Opportunities to apply concepts to real incidents. C. Continuous repetition of basic facts. D. Minimal interaction with facilitators. 7. A certified emergency manager designing a mass casualty drill should emphasize: A. Creating complex scenarios with no measurable objectives, including measurable, realistic, and regulatory compliant goals. C. Excluding interagency coordination to maintain simplicity. D. Prioritizing speed of exercise over learning outcomes. 8. Which mentoring strategy best supports new emergency managers preparing for the CEM test? A. Giving them a list of study topics with no context. B. Pairing them with experienced professionals for guided problem solving. C. Encouraging them to avoid collaborative exercises. D. Instructing them to focus only on memorization of test items. 9. Regulatory compliance in emergency management training primarily ensures: A. Learner creativity is unrestricted. B. Standards align with national and legal frameworks. C. Programs remain entirely theoretical. D. Training excludes interagency protocols. 10. Which communication method is most effective in multi-agency drills to prevent misinformation? A. Using predefined, standardized communication protocols. B. Allowing each agency to use its own system. C. Prioritizing informal updates. D. Relaying updates through social media. 11. When evaluating an emergency operations curriculum, which key factor demonstrates quality assurance? A. Alignment with accreditation and certification standards. B. The length of the curriculum in hours. C. Popularity of the curriculum among trainers. D. The number of PowerPoint slides used. 12. Which principle of adult learning is best demonstrated when trainees design their own emergency response scenarios? A. Repetition. B. Learner autonomy and involvement. C. Passive observation. D. Memorization drills. 13. A certified emergency manager mentoring junior staff should primarily: A. Impose strict routines with no explanation. B. Model problem-solving behaviors in real-world contexts. C. Discourage feedback to maintain authority. D. Provide only theoretical reading materials. 14. Which regulatory requirement is most relevant to continuity of operations planning, COOP curriculum? A. National Incident Management System, NIMS compliance. E. Local Neighborhood Associations Informal Practices. C. Agency-specific cultural rituals. D. Historical precedent without current updates. 15. The primary purpose of formative evaluation in emergency management training is to A. Measure final learning outcomes only. B. Provide ongoing feedback for instructional improvement. C. Certify learners for national credentialing. D. Compare performance across multiple institutions. 16. In the CEM test, situational judgment items primarily assess A. Memorization of statutes. E. Application of knowledge to real-world decisions. C. Speed of test-taking. D. Grammar and writing skills. 17. During a mentoring session, an effective way to develop critical thinking in mentees is to A. Present them with open-ended, scenario-based problems. B. Provide only yes-no quiz questions. C. Restrict access to collaborative tools. D. Focus solely on multiple-choice drills. 18. Which evaluation method best measures an emergency exercise's impact on interagency communication? A. Participant self-reported satisfaction. B. Observation of communication flows during the drill. C. Counting the number of agencies present. D. Measuring hours spent in training. 19. When developing curriculum for disaster recovery planning, the most critical component is A. Historical disaster case studies integrated with best practices. B. Limiting content to a single hazard type. C. Avoiding stakeholder involvement. D. Focusing only on abstract models. 20. Which mentoring technique promotes reflective practice in certified emergency manager candidates? A. Assigning reflective journals on leadership and response challenges. B. Memorization of policy manuals. C. Discouraging questions about real incidents. D. Avoiding self-assessment exercises. 21. Which communication barrier most often undermines interagency disaster response training? A. Use of standardized terminology. B. Inconsistent use of acronyms and jargon. C. Centralized decision-making. D. Shared training objectives. 22. Summative evaluation in emergency management training is used to A. Assess final outcomes against objectives. B. Provide ongoing corrective feedback. C. Encourage learners to modify training mid-course. D. Design new regulatory frameworks. 23. Which principle of adult learning requires emergency management trainers to allow flexibility in how learners engage with material? A. Relevance. E. Rote memorization. C. Rigid compliance. D. Learner-centeredness. 24. The CEM test validates competency in which area beyond technical knowledge? A. Financial management of disasters only. B. Critical thinking, leadership, and applied decision-making. C. Administrative typing speed. D. Physical fitness standards. 25. Which regulatory compliance framework governs hazardous materials training in the U.S.? A. Occupational Safety and Health Administration (OSHA) standards. B. Informal, peer-developed guidelines. C. Local community club rules. D. Ad hoc emergency protocols. 26. When mentoring a team preparing for the CEM test, the best strategy is to A. Provide ongoing feedback tailored to individual strengths and weaknesses. Require identical study schedules for all mentees. C. Limit mentoring to one initial session. D. Focus exclusively on memorizing regulations. 27. Which adult learning principle should guide the design of tabletop exercises for crisis management? A. Immediate applicability to real-life situations. B. Exclusive focus on hypothetical theories. C. Limitation of learner interaction. D. Prioritization of passive observation. 28. A certified emergency manager assessing a training program's compliance must ensure A. All modules align with federal, state, and local requirements. B. Trainers have total autonomy without oversight. C. Exercises focus only on entertainment value. D. Standards are set internally without reference to law. 29. Which communication strategy is most effective for maintaining trust during an unfolding crisis? A. Transparency and timely updates. B. Withholding information to avoid panic. C. Using overly technical language. D. Delaying communication until the situation resolves. 30. Which evaluation metric best demonstrates improved disaster response readiness? A. Reduction in response time during simulated exercises. B. Number of participants in training. C. Learners' satisfaction ratings. D. Hours logged in the classroom. 31. In curriculum development for Emergency Operations Centers, EOCs, what should be prioritized? A. Integration of cross-disciplinary CEM coordination exercises. B. Avoiding complex simulations to save resources. C. Designing content without input from stakeholders. D. Emphasizing theoretical models without practice.